What if you could change your life? What if the sorrow could become joy and the darkness the light? What if you could heal not only yourself but those around you? Well, you can. This is Alchemy, and these are the Alchemy Sisters. Join psychic Jennie McDaniel and spiritual advisor Mandee Elam for a magical 1-hour journey into esoteric spiritual discussions.
Hello and welcome to the Alchemy Sisters. You are here with Mandee and Jennie. Hi, Jennie. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Mandee?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here and hold space with you and our lovely guest, Jayme, who we're going to bring on. If you're just tuning in and listening to the Alchemy Sisters for the first time, I'm Mandee Elam. I'm here with Jennie McDaniel, and we host an hour discussion. Typically an hour discussion. Tonight we're going to do about 45 minutes. Each week that we really like to bring awareness and clarity and knowledge to the divine energies and how we can kind of co-create and use a lot of those to create our awareness and our experience here. Our overall shift is to try to kind of raise our heart over the ego, and that's why our radio name is Heart Over Ego. And we're just so happy to have you here with us tonight. How are you feeling, Jennie? Any energies going on that you're feeling tonight?
Well, we've had some earthquakes here in California. I'm in Northern California, so I haven't gotten any of the vibrations, but I'll be excited to ask Jayme what her take on that is and what that means and what the frequencies are. But other than that, it's a beautiful day here in Northern California. I'm at the Roman Spa where I work, kind of hanging out near the hot waters and just enjoying the sunshine and the flowers.
Excellent. Yeah, and we have Mercury retrograde kicking off, which is me stumbling over my words just a tiny bit, which is kind of funny. I'm usually pretty calm, cool, and collected, and today I felt a lot of different energies shifting through and making me feel different ways, and I've just been kind of enjoying the ride. So with no further ado, though, I want to bring on our guest. Our guest tonight is Jayme Williams. She's the founder of Sacred Vibrational Therapy. She offers a combination of services that include Biofield Tuning, Reiki, and Neuro Linguistic Programming. Welcome, Jayme. How are you doing tonight there in Southern California?
Hello. Yes, doing so good today. It's a beautiful day, and the energies this week and over the weekend have been pretty intense with all the earthquakes.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people have been getting ready for Mercury retrograde, and we're always talking about energetic shifts happening, and we like to, kind of connect the heavens to the earth and spirit a lot, with what's going on actually physically. And I just think it's such divine timing that you're here and you're going to be talking about vibrational therapy. And then we actually have, earth shifting and vibrationing happening at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's, you definitely feel Mother Gaia's force when those earthquakes hit. And, it makes you, it's really humbling, it's really humbling. It makes you realize that, we live on this huge, huge planet, and it has its own cycle, and we're living within its cycle.
Exactly, and it makes you humbled, but it also probably brings you a sense of kind of awareness and preparedness too. Do you feel like you with this has kind of been a cycle for you guys, and it's slowly come in with some slow earthquakes and then a big one, and now you're still kind of waiting to see if something else will happen? Do you feel like it's made you become kind of more prepared or more organized in certain ways, or more present even? What have you experienced from it?
Well, it's interesting because it was probably about, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 years ago, where we had a series of earthquakes, and that was kind of like pre-awakening for me. And so it's been interesting to observe the difference between how I observed it last time and how I observe it this time. So last time it was like, it was quite scary, and, the kids are sleeping in our bed, everybody's kind of freaked out. And this time, it was like I just felt such a sense of calm. And also, I was observing, because, we're going through the eclipse as well, so we have those frequencies coming in.
True.
And I was actually, I know a lot of people were experiencing a lot of like pain and grief and sadness coming up during the eclipse season. And I don't know. I don't know if it was just the frequencies that we're receiving in this area, but for the last week or so, I've just been in complete bliss. And it's been amazing to be in that high frequency energy, because when sadness or grief does come up, it's like this experience of it dissolving. Like, it's not even a matter of, like I have to release this, or I have to let this go, or I need to shift out of this. It's just like you're in this frequency, it comes up and it just dissolves. It is so interesting.
Oh, I love that. It's kind of like Jennie and I kind of talk about that a lot. It's kind of what like alchemy and like transmuting energy can really end up being like. Wouldn't you say, Jennie?
Definitely, absolutely. Sorry, I was having a little bit of a sound issue there. Yes, absolutely. It's I think that it's humbling. I think that that's a brilliant way to say it. Jayme had mentioned that word. It's humbling, but it's also so powerful. Like, our planet, she's pretty powerful, and if she doesn't want us here, we won't be here.
Right.
It's eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we joke around a lot about that, Jayme. We're like, well, she shook us off before, and she can shake us off again, you know?
Right? Yeah.
She's her own force.
Yeah, she's got the power, definitely.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, it's been interesting. We're going to tell our listeners a little bit about what you do, but I've been really grateful and lucky to experience a lot of biofield tuning from Jayme. And I kind of wanted to report back to you. Over the past few weeks, I've been literally feeling a lot of my chakras opening and shifting. And I feel like because of trauma that I went through or things that have happened, I feel like some of my emotions got a little hard or clouded, or there'd been like some walls around it, things like that. And I've noticed like an unlayering, and it's almost like finding my sensitivity again, but having my power with like my thoughts. It's been a very beautiful experience, and I'm very grateful for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting what happens as we start to peel back those layers, and sometimes it's a long road peeling back those layers as we let go of one thing, then another thing comes up. And, we have, I think as a society, we have this, it's almost like ingrained in us to repress so much, and so when we start to unpack everything that we've repressed, it's an interesting journey, because sometimes we can leave just feeling so much lighter and clear and having more energy, and sometimes it can, you feel a little bit of anxiety because you've been pushing that down for so long, and all of a sudden you're in the position where you're ready to see it, and you're ready to see it with love and, appreciate the lessons that they brought and let it go. And, sometimes people experience grief when they start peeling back those layers and letting go, because even though it's something that they've held on to for so long, and even though it's not serving them, it's been a part of them for so long. So there is a sensation of having a loss there. So it's just really interesting how all of this works and how it all unfolds, and just staying present with all of it and not resisting whatever it is that comes as we do this work.
I tell my clients that, I say, just because the healing doesn't look like you want it to doesn't mean there's healing not happening. It looks different all the time, and that's just our ego thinking it should just be masterful, spectacular releases, when indeed healing can happen in suffering, and suffering can be the mobile that gets us through until the healing happens. So it looks a lot of different ways, and it's nice to just not get hung up on what it should look like and just allow it to be and try to press forward. Right. I think that's such a great point. It's so important not to attach to an expectation. When I have clients that I do multiple sessions, every single session is so different from the next.
and I just have total faith that they get what they receive in that moment. Sometimes it's just like they need a little bit of love and encouragement and support and gratitude, and that comes through in the field, and sometimes they need a big breakthrough and they need to feel whole, and that's what comes through in the field. So yeah, it's so important to not attach to any expectations and just be really open, because we're working with the unconscious mind. And, consciously we think we know what we need and we think we know what we want. But so often on an unconscious level, it comes through with something completely different. And it's like, oh, okay, I get that. Okay, that makes sense. I would have never thought of that.
It's true. Jayme blew my mind. I was really excited for my sessions with her, and she went to focus on my adrenals, and I knew I had adrenal fatigue. I've been working with Jennie on it for a while, and myself, and finding that balance, and it takes a long time to kind of heal that. It took a long time to create it the way it was, and it took some time for it to come back. And in my first session, one of our first sessions, maybe it could have been our second session, Jayme, I don't know, but I had all this heart trauma from my birth, and you ended up kind of almost recalibrating my heart rhythm and my heartbeat a little bit. And it blew my mind. I wasn't expecting any of that. It's not what my intention was. It's not what I went in there for, but it was absolutely what I needed. And it helped me to heal a little bit of my mother wound. And it helped me heal in open spaces, around all kinds of things that I didn't even give thought to for years and years and years. So it's pretty amazing what can happen when you jump into one of these sessions.
Yeah, and that experience it's really a really good example of what goes on in a Biofield tuning session. So, we had found that there was some birth trauma there, and you reached out to your mom, and she told you that, there was, I think you almost had a heart attack, right? Your heart rate went so low that it almost just stopped.
Yeah, she had to have like an emergency C-section, and she said, this was in 1985. I'm 33 now. And she's like, we always joke about it. So she's like, I knew it was bad when your dad and the doctor lit up a cigarette and started talking. And she said that both of our heart rates just started to drop drastically. And she had been pushing for a really long time. I was her first baby, so it was kind of new to the whole C-section thing. And, they weren't ready for that. And you told me that I came in with such a mission, and it was traumatizing that it was hard for me to come through.
Yeah. And so it was pretty cool, because it's also a good example of a distance session. So we're doing the session over the phone. We're on opposite ends of, I'm on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast, and I'm asking you, can you hear the rhythm? Because as I'm in the field, a lot of times the tuning fork just kind of takes on a life of its own. It's just kind of leading me as I'm working through the field. And as I kind of repeated that motion out loud, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a heart rhythm, And it was like, and that was just what you needed in your field. You needed that nice, strong heart rhythm to get it back online. And like, how powerful is that? If you go to a regular doctor and you tell them that you're having some issues with adrenals, they're not going to ask you if you have birth trauma.
No way. Most likely, I shouldn't say no way, but most likely not. And maybe if it was a very holistic naturopath. Yeah, what Jayme does is fantastic. And I know we kind of got ahead of ourselves and we're going back, but that's what Spirit does. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about, we'll start with biotuning and what it all is and what it looks like?
Yeah, so Biofield Tuning is basically, it's using, I specifically use the Fulgio tuning fork, so it's using that rhythm, that vibration to, it acts kind of like a needle on a record that picks up the signal and projects the sound out. And so when I'm in the field, the tuning fork will pick up the emotional charge that's in the field, and it kind of has a way of showing what kind of charge it is. So like if it has kind of like a low muffled sound, a lot of times that's the sadness or depression. If it has like a real high ping, then that's like there's an alert there, like, could be anything from a death in the family to a car accident or just something that, would happen really fast. And so it just picks up on all these different frequencies. And so I start at the edge of the field, which is the gestational period and the birth, and I work my way into the body. As I get closer into the body, then that's closer to the present moment. And so usually I can call out, like, okay, I'm around the age of 10 and this is what I'm getting. And a lot of times it's a back and forth communication between me and the client. Some clients are a little bit more shy, or they just process things more internally. So I'm just kind of like calling out what I'm getting, and they just kind of just say softly if it resonates. And but a lot of times it's a back and forth dialogue, and it's pretty amazing that what comes through. It's probably 6 times out of 10 during the session, the client is like, God, I can't even believe that's coming up. I haven't thought about that in 20 years, or I haven't thought about that in 30 years. But it's, a really pivotal point in their life. And so what I found is that through this process, we're really able to get to the source of what was going on. And that's not always easy to do on a conscious level, because a lot of that programming happens when we're so young, we don't even really remember it. And so, it's really cool, because I've been in the field several times where I'm like at the age of 4 or 5, and my client doesn't even remember what was going on at that age. But as soon as I reach that charge, boom, they have a memory of something. And they're like, oh my gosh, I just remembered this one time that this one thing happened, and it was like, and then as I'm moving through the field, we see that there's a pattern of that, that happened at 5, and then that happened at 11, and then that happened, during high school, and that happened after they graduated college. And so it's like, okay, so now we witness where this started. And sometimes it's like external, like sometimes it's the influence from a parent or a sibling or, a teacher. But sometimes like we create these own patterns ourselves just to kind of, because we're in survival mode. We're trying to keep ourselves safe. And so it's really cool, because once we get to witness it, we could literally rewrite it altogether, like we're witnessing it as that is not truth. And what is your truth, and let's bring that forward. And let's, from this point forward, let's make your choices and observe your experiences through this new truth. So it's really powerful, and I love it because it's so gentle. It's when I was looking for a healing modality to go into, I tried just about everything under the sun, and I found this modality just so gentle and soft. And, I think that's really important as we're going through our healing process, to be gentle with ourselves and, to just really honor what we're going through and honor what comes up for us, and, just kind of go through the process with ease and grace. I see a lot of people in online communities where they're just, really distraught and just really finding it hard to function as they're going through their healing journey. And, my heart goes out to them, because I just feel like, there's other ways that we can go about it, where we can just really hold space for them to subtly go through this, healing process.
Absolutely, yes. And that's why we started the Heart Over Ego Radio Network, is because we wanted to give free information to people who can't always get or access healing. It's expensive sometimes, and even if it's really cheap, if you don't have any money, it's expensive. So that's why we have 7 shows a week, so people can get a little taste of all different kinds of healing for free and be able to connect and find a community. It's so important. And in the society we live in, for some weird reason, psychological health and spiritual health is frowned upon. It's viewed as weak or it has shame written all over it. It's very unfortunate. We're here to change that, amongst other things. I want to tell you, I'm listening to you. I was going to ask you. I didn't even have to ask. You went right into what a session was. I wasn't sure what biotuning was. I'd heard and experienced a few energy, frequency, and sound healing sessions, but I wasn't sure how you did it. From the sounds of it, and this is just me looking at it, it looks like you do a part hypnotherapy, part sound. So I'm not sure which is coming first. If you're using the sound to get them into a quick trance and then bringing their subconscious forward so you can ask the questions and get to the root of things, or if just your hypnosis skills are so wildly good that you just get them into trance and then you ask questions and the sound assists. Either way, it's a very powerful modality you're doing there. And I want to just give you a little piece of information, and I hope it's okay that I'm doing this on live radio. But you have somebody coming through who wants to say hello. I do a lot of psychic work, including channeling, many modalities. And I know you from past lives, and there's someone real special coming through who wants to say hello and say that you've walked the walk with him. And we have Jesus Christ himself coming through in a quick impression saying, I know her. We've done similar work. She's walked the walk with me. She's talked the talk with me. She's coming through the real deal, giving you an esoteric, ethereal high five. You guys are buddies. And I felt your energy, and I was like, oh, this is nice and clean. And then Jesus was like, well, it should be. And I was laughing, thinking of all this. They start showing a lot of your past lives and the service that you've done. And I'm so pleased that you're here with us doing it again at one of the most pivotal points in human history. I have a question I like to ask, and I'll ask you too. What year were you born?
In 77.
Oh, 1 year before me. Yeah, a lot of us came into the 70s, into the 80s there. A bunch of us warrior teacher types here to carry the torch through. Well, thank you for being here, not only on the show, but here on the planet in the dimension.
Well, it's a really exciting time to be here, and thank you for that message. I really appreciate that. It was very beautiful.
You're welcome. Yeah, I have been feeling the effects of Mercury retrograde. I'm kind of stumbling over my words a little bit, but I've also had some emotional stuff come up that needed to be looked at. So everyone frowns upon Mercury retrograde, but it can be a beautiful opportunity if you're in the mood.
That's true. You know, it is. It's the time to rest and retune and recalibrate. And that's why I'm so happy you're here with us tonight, Jayme. You know, it's the time to kind of look at all these and recalibrate our energies. And it's not easy. It was kind of funny. I usually have no problem opening up the show, but I stumbled over my words. And it's like I've felt all these different things lately the past couple of days that I don't usually feel. I'm usually pretty steady. So, but I have been very open to receiving the energies, and I've been spending a lot of time in nature and trying to recalibrate, so it makes sense that I'm more sensitive to it now.
Yeah. You know, I had transitioned. My husband and I have an IT firm, so I transitioned out of that, moving into my healing practice. So during Mercury retrograde, it's always interesting for us because all sorts of technologies go crazy. So when people, you know, talk about, the planet's this, that, like it doesn't mean anything, and I always laugh. I'm like, you know, there's so much clear evidence, and if you just simply ran a tech company, you would see that.
Yeah, you get to look at it from a different lens.
Both angles. In her spiritual practice, she gets people coming through with emotional problems, and on her husband's business, they got the tech problems. They just need to go on vacations during Mercury retrograde. I tease.
Yeah, as long as they land the plane before retrograde.
Yeah,
they're going on vacation.
Oh, that is so funny.
Yeah, but I just wanted to just touch bases on Jennie had mentioned about hypnosis, and I actually do not have any training in hypnosis, and a lot of the unconscious work that comes through is literally just vibration. So it's literally what's coming through the tuning forks and the vibration that my client is feeling on the table. So it's pretty interesting how that happens. Sometimes I'm just completely blown away at how they, they have the memories pop up, and sometimes I'm blown away at like the help that we have during the session. Like one time I was in a session and my client was having a little bit of a block. I was at a young age, and literally a bird flew down into the chimney, started chirping away, and then boom, all of a sudden she had a memory, and then the bird flew away. And it was like, okay, well, we had a little helper here with us today, and there's been times where I've been with a client and all of a sudden a hummingbird is just doing infinity signs in front of the window, and so I'm kind of explaining what's going on as, over a distance session, and that has a specific meaning to them, that they're really close to the energy of the hummingbird. So, I mean, it really every single session blows me away at, what comes through, and it makes me realize how supported we are in this work. And it just makes me realize like how important it is to not have any judgment on anyone, because we just don't know anybody's circumstances, and sometimes they don't even really understand the energy that's pushing them to do things, the way that, make choices the way that they're making choices. So we really, really have to be accepting of everybody around us and everything that's going on, because there's this really dynamic blueprint that we don't see. And, just seeing the perfection in everything is just, it's really like it just feels so right in my heart,
Absolutely. Yeah. And the reason I use the term hypnotherapy is because I was doing hypnotherapy before I went to the training. I took a weekend course, a couple of them. It was like it was only like 4 days altogether, but either or, I got a little intro to it, and I realized I'd always been doing hypnotherapy. It's just there's a technique that is status quo, so to speak, and there's several of them, but one of which is called hypnotherapy. But basically it's making or holding space for someone to let their subconscious mind out, which is constantly recording, even when we sleep, even when we're born, even before we're born. So all the information is there. So getting someone to a comfortable, relaxed, trance-like state allows and helps that subconscious mind to come forward, and then you're reading the frequencies or however you're doing it. It's a very high sense thing you're doing. You can call it whatever you want, but in my world we call that psychic senses, psychic or intuitive.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways of just explaining, and there's so many different healing modalities, and we're all doing the same thing. I know. And I love Biofield Tuning, and I love to preach about it, but I also love to add that caveat in there that there's so many healing modalities that are so amazing, and how important it is for each person to explore what works for them and what they resonate with. And and it's so amazing to be part of that team of a whole variety of people that are using all these amazing technologies that are coming through right now.
Definitely. And there's so many people, and everyone likes a different frequency, and everyone needs a different frequency at a different part in their life. So it's helpful that we all have our own style, our own flavor, so to speak, because what works for one might not work for another, just like acupuncture. Some people live by it. It's their favorite thing. It's gotten them through hell. They love it. They tell everyone about it. One person tried 19 times in a row, and it doesn't do the same thing for them. That's when you take responsibility and say, there's so many different healing modalities out there. It can get overwhelming, but I'm going to listen to a YouTube clip on this one, or I'm going to check into this podcast when someone's going to be talking about this one. Getting information and doing the research and feeling, allowing your discernment to come forward and say, gosh, that really sounds interesting to me. Half of my clients say that. They're like, I just felt felt like I should contact you. And then we go into deep, deep emotional healing because it was time and place. So all in right time, all in due time. I think of healing like music. You wanted a lot of different kinds. You don't always want jazz. You don't always want blues.
Right.
It's nice to be able to move it and utilize it and use what you need at that time. And it's a beautiful world to play around in. It just can get overwhelming for the person who doesn't work in the healing field. They get even in the healing field, it can get overwhelmed. There's millions of us. So just take one bite at a time and do a little research and try little intros and talk to a healer. If the healer has time, they will say, just like Jayme beautifully did, this is what kind of to expect in a session. It often goes like this, but it can change. And getting a feel for it and then trying it a couple times. Because often, even with massage therapy, people will say to me, I got a massage once and I didn't like it 20 years ago. And I'm like, you didn't try it again? Like millions of us. Just being open and flexible. It's like finding your favorite beautician or whatever.
Yeah, and there's so much variety. Like, for example, with Biofield Tuning. So I have 3 Biofield Tuning practitioners that I go to depending on what I want. So I have one that holds more the energy of relationships. So like what comes through when I have a tuning with her is like relationship with mom and dad's relationship and that influence on me and, you know, my relationship with my husband and my kids. And then I have another one who's like a stand-up comedian. and every time I see her, it's like we go through the deep, deep stuff, the really, really hard, gritty bits, and we do it with laughter. Like I'm literally on her table crying my eyes out from laughter, like releasing these like stuff the deep, dark, you know, stuff. And then I have one that's more scientific, and she's got all this other technology that measures my chakras before and after the session, and she can like see how my organs are doing and stuff like that. And you know, I kind of see myself as like more the guide, you know, where I'm like, I'm not here to heal you. I'm just going to guide you down this journey, and we're going to take this path together. And so everybody has a different style, a different flavor, and, you know, it's good to have variety in there because we need that variety. Sometimes we need a good laugh. Sometimes we need a good cry, you know.
It's true, you know, and I just think it's cool because everything we're talking about kind of goes back to how we're energy. And even if it's just different signs coming in during your healings or, you know, different things that are like if you're hearing a sound or the bird chirping or certain music and it's bringing up a memory, things like that. It's just fascinating how it all works. And what it comes down to is like being present and being open to receive. And, you know, timelines lining up and being able to handle it. You know, I had a client recently be like, oh my gosh, they just read a book and they were like, oh my gosh, like, why didn't I read this before? Like, you sent this to me like 3 years ago and I didn't open up until now. And I'm like, well, it just wasn't the right time. And like, you know, there has to be I guess, as much as time is an illusion, there's a certain time-space continuum where things are just right along your path. And it's kind of like a gear grinding in and syncing up. And it's like, all right, now we can take this step or this one. And as long as we show up with an open mind and an open heart and we're open to receiving that energy, anything can happen.
Definitely. It's all in the alignment.
All in the alignment. It kind of made me want to ask you too. Jennie and I were talking a little bit before the show about sound healing and vibration, and something you may know some about this or you may not, Jayme, but I feel like you might. But like Jennie has a big sensitivity when she has earbuds in, and I have a sensitivity if like I have a phone up to my ear. I always like to have my phone on speakerphone or far away from me, or if there's TV going on in the background or it's loud and obnoxious or violent or something, it really disrupts my energy. Have you learned anything about sound and the impacts it has on us?
I haven't learned anything specifically about the like background noises and how that impacts us, but I know that as empaths, you know, we are very, very sensitive to sound, and especially, you know, with like the TV going on in the background and violence and stuff like that. But more on a physical level, did either of you girls experience ear infections chronically when you were younger?
I think
No,
I had
but I had tubes in my ears when I was really little. Like when I was very young, my mom told me a long time ago I had tubes in my ears, and they kind of just flushed out as I got older. But that was there, and then I did have swimmer's ear almost every summer because we had a pool.
Mhm.
That may.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's like just something that, you know, is something in the external that's affecting our physical being, and sometimes it's like something emotional in the external that's affecting our physical being. Like I do know someone who had chronic ear infections, and it was basically because her parents were fighting all the time. You know, and that's where she held the pain, the emotional pain of it. Like I know that I had chronic throat infections growing up, and that was because I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't able to express myself. I didn't feel safe, or I didn't feel like I can do it. So it's sometimes it's something, external in the physical realm. Sometimes it's emotional. It's really hard to say, but I think generally as empaths, we're just so sensitive to everything, to sound, to smells, to, so many products that have chemicals in it. Do you guys, are you sensitive that way? Like, will you break out into a rash easy, or does your skin get irritated easy?
I can't use regular soaps. I've been on organic for about 16 years now.
Yeah. I'm pretty sensitive too. I can use some regular soaps or shampoos, but I really noticed it with scented candles or air fresheners when I was a kid. And then I talk about it on Womb Magic with Heidi, but my body really rejected tampons because they had bleach in them and things like that. And it was very traumatic. I was like, oh God, what is this thing? This is horrible. And I can't use them, and I get the toxic shock syndrome. So, and I get, I had growing up, see, things come to memory when we're talking. Growing up, I had a lot of sore throats and strep throat and things like that, but I very much had a persecution wound, and I very much incarnated into a family where I wasn't allowed to speak my truth much. If I was with my mom, yeah, but if I was with anybody else, no. Children were seen and not heard, and I had a lot to say, and I wasn't allowed to. So that's always very interesting.
Yeah, the whole sit down and shut up mentality, and that goes beyond our home too. I mean, with schools, that's pretty much what we're trained to do, is just to sit down and shut up, and it's obviously time to change all of that.
Jennie has fascinating views on that. Jennie always wants to. What do you want to do, Jennie? Explore kids' talents as a kid when they're little?
Oh, I love it. Often my clients will say, my 6-year-old is seeing things. Do you know anything about that? And I'm like, yeah. I would love to work with your child, no doubt.
Yeah.
Working with mom, really, ultimately, in allowing the kid, and her not to be fearful and letting the kid express energy the way it's going to, and it often changes throughout their life. Just because a child sees ghosts, let's call it, at 8, doesn't mean they're going to grow up to be a professional psychic. They might just have a sensitivity for the first few years, and then it kind of falls away and they can use it as they wish. But it reminds me of what you're saying, and I'll share with you what I share with most of my guests, most of my clients. It's just a nice refresher. Is one of my spiritual understandings is we pick the womb we come out of, and we pick the time that we come through, the time frame continuum. So one of the reasons, there's all kinds of strategy in this, and one of the reasons we came in is to be a part of the big shift. One of the biggest shifts, again, the planet will see. And the way my teacher sees it, a trance channel, brilliant, like Edgar Cayce, but a new age version. And I see it that in the next 7 to 8 years, we do flip the heart over the ego. There'll be 51% heart on the planet, 51% heart, 49% ego. And that is a big, big deal. And that's part of what we come in to do, is collectively be the change, shift the planet, bring more heart energy. So again, not only am I happy you're here on the show and on the planet, but that you strategically planned to be a teacher in this time frame continuum. We need all the help we can get. It's a pretty ego-heavy existence, and the old soul loves a hard gig. We just love coming in when we're like, ooh, can we do it? Let's try. Ooh. And we have everyone's attention. I mean, we're not the only time frame continuum that the non-physical is watching, but they're interested because we got a pretty tight game going. And the way the way that I see it, we do win, but damn, is it close.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the kids that are coming in at this time are just incredible. So that's one of my goals, really, is to use my healing practice to work with kids. Like, I've already had the opportunity to work with a girlfriend of mine whose son is on the spectrum, and he just loves it. He just loves it. And I haven't had the chance to experience it yet, but many Biofield Tuning practitioners will tune the mom as a surrogate for the child. So they're both getting the tuning. And one of the practitioners that I go to, her client's son was just stopped eating. He just stopped eating. They tried everything, and he just wouldn't eat. And so she did 3 sessions for the mom as the surrogate, and he just snapped back into normal and started eating everything. And so it's like, wow, to have the opportunity to work with these kids and work with the parents, it's like, it's really, really cool. It's exciting.
I think that's what a lot of us kind of came here to do and incarnated in being some of these, healers that went through the things we went through and the trauma, because we're paving a way for all of these incredibly sensitive beings and souls who wouldn't have been able to handle, some of the ways the constructs were culturally and collectively over the previous few decades. So I'm just so grateful for both of you and your pioneer work and helping to clear a path and educate people so that these new souls can come here and do what we need them to do and what they chose to do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So grateful for you too.
Jayme, can you share with our listeners how they can get a hold of you or follow you if they want to work with you a little bit?
Yeah, so they could visit my website, which is sacredvibrationaltherapy.com, and all the links to my social media platforms are on there, but it's, facebook.com/sacredvibrationaltherapy, same thing for Instagram. So it's pretty easy to find. So if they wanted to just learn more about the services, fill out a contact form. I believe my phone number is on there if they need to reach out.
I think so. Yeah. I was looking at the website before. It's beautiful, and it's really easy to get a hold of Jayme, and you can find her on Facebook. There was one more piece that we didn't really talk about, but we have just a minute here, of your healing practice, and that is the Neuro Linguistics. Can you tell us a little bit about that part?
Yeah, so I offer that as an add-on, and I know that there are NLP practitioners that just do that specifically. But I find that it goes so well with Biofield Tuning because when I am in the field, we can see the patterns that are coming forward. And so it's pretty cool because while I'm in the field, I can take the client through some techniques it's basically rewiring your brain patterns and recognizing thought patterns and belief systems that have been ingrained, and just rewriting it. So I mostly use visualizations to do that, and so it's kind of like a guided meditation. But I'm just surprised at how powerful it is when we visualize something in the mind. The body goes, okay, yeah, that's what is happening. That the body believes it. If we think it, the body believes it. If we're in that vibration, the body's like, yeah, that's what's going on. And so it's just been really incredible to see people, they literally are rewriting their timelines. So, they came across one circumstances where they felt powerless, and we rewrite that aspect, and it rewires their brain, and they're no longer feeling powerless in any situation. So it's just a really great tool to have in the back pocket while I'm in the field and just really present with these frequencies and seeing, kind of like underneath the hood what's going on, and to be able to just translate that into, the person's actual truth, and achieve that potential that they already hold within, and they just need to bring that forth.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, Jayme, and sharing your heart and your energy and your wisdom with our listeners. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
We'll have to have you on again. We'll do a part 2 if you're down for that.
Yeah, I would love that.
Wonderful. Well, I'd like to tell everyone I appreciate you for listening in. Mandee, it's always a pleasure. Jayme, thank you. And we are the Alchemy Sisters. We're on Heart Over Ego Radio. We're here every Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at Heart Over Ego Radio, and you can find us on all the large podcast apps, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Blog Talk, Spotify. Find us on Facebook, the Alchemy Sisters. We have a lot of fun, lots of inspirational quotes, a lot of funny humor, spiritual humor, so you'll enjoy that. So find us and play with us there. We appreciate you all. Again, we're here 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Mondays. And our next show this week is going to be Wednesday, Rain Radio with Leela and Naomi. Check in with them. They have all kinds of powerful information, everyday information as well as spiritual information. We also have on Fridays Womb Magic with Mandee, Elam, my beautiful business partner, and she's with Heidi Summers. They talk all things womb. Check back in over the next couple of weeks where we're going to be peppering in a few more shows. By next week, we should be at 7 shows a week. So find us, Heart Over Ego Radio. We have all kinds of things for you. Thanks, ladies. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Until next week, have a lovely week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What if you could change your life? What if the sorrow could become joy and the darkness the light? What if you could heal not only yourself but those around you? Well, you can. This is Alchemy, and these are the Alchemy Sisters. Join psychic Jennie McDaniel and spiritual advisor Mandee Elam for a magical 1-hour journey into esoteric spiritual discussions.